lighting candles and making Kiddush. So I don't know if anyone is planning to do that at home in addition to like me doing it here, but if you're planning to light candles along with us, then you can grab the candles now because we're about to do it in just a second. Oh, okay, one more thing. Need to put it on slideshow mode. There, great, cool. All right, here we go. All right. And feel free to read along with me on mute. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. All right. If you're planning to light candles, you can get out your candle lighter at this point. We're going to light the candles and say the blessing. You come over here. Okay. There we go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. All right. I'm going to turn to the next page here. These are the 18 Shabbat blessings for peace in Israel and Palestine, which is a blessing written by Hila Ratzabi. May this light embrace all who are suffering through war. May this light spread and reach toward the hostage. Just a second, guys. Okay. May this light embrace all who are suffering through war. May this light spread and reach toward the hostages and their families, wrapping them in a protective embrace. May this light illuminate paths of safety and shelter for the people of Gaza. May this light shatter barriers separating food and aid from innocent civilians. May this light open space for the people of Israel and of Palestine to process their grief and anxiety. May this light break open the barriers in our hearts. May this light soften anger and fear. May this light erase thoughts of revenge. May this light give us strength to stand up against extremists in power. May this light hold gently the traumas of our past and the traumas of our present. May all the people who call Israel and Palestine their home come together to grieve and witness each other's pain. May we transform our grief into solidarity. May our solidarity pave the way for a shared future. May we nurture the divine spark within ourselves. May that spark shine out to include our families, friends, neighbors, and all who live on earth. May the divine light from before creation inspire us to choose life. May this light empower us to build the future we want to see. May this light guide us on the path toward healing and peace. All right, folks, we're going to make Kiddush now. So again, if you're planning to make Kiddush with your own wine or grape juice at home, then this would be the time to grab your cup, and we'll rise if you're able and comfortable doing so. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, tzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'migrahe kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, im kol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'yahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Right. L'chaim, folks. All right. Gonna have a seat. And we'll continue on page 127. Feel free to read along with me. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. I'm going to continue forward now to page 138 with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, la la la, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet, V'haliti la lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, la la la, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki makor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maseh b'machashava techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, la la la, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzai mitoch hafecha, Rav lach shevet be'emek habacha, v'hu yachamol alaykem la. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, la la la, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin u'smol tifrotzi et ve'et Adonai ta'aritzi al yad ish ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, la la la, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, la la la, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Okay, going to turn to page 636 now for Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh Yadarayav Harachaman, Mishoch Avdecha El Retzanecha, Yarutz avdecha kemo hayal, Yishtachave אל מול התורך ירב לו ידידותך מנופת צוף וכל טעם הדור נאה יררי זיו העולם נפשי חולת אהבתך אנא אל נא רפואה נעלה מהרות לה נועם זיווך אז תתחזק ותתרפא והייתה לה שמחת עולם ותיק ימונה יררי רחמך וחוסנה על בין אהובך כי זה כמה נכסף לראות בתפארת עוזך אנא אלי חמדת ליבי חוסנה ואל תתעלם יגלנה ידי ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומך תאיר את מכבודך נגילה ונשמחה בך מהר אהוב כי במועד וכוננו כי מעולם yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 yada da 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 da. All right, folks, going to turn to 140 now for Psalm 92. Mizmor shir leyom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot lahadonai, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, ulzamer l'shimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שמחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידך רנן. מה גודלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. All right, and finally, I'm going to turn to page 142 for Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right. We're going to turn to page 145 now. Does anyone want to volunteer to unmute and read here on 145 for us? Sherry.
Okay, are we there?
Yep.
Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on a ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day today be as the one before, lest routine set my ways.
Thank you. What?
No, I don't know. That part at the bottom. Is that part?
I can't. You're reading a different reading from the one I've got on the card. So is that if that's the end of the reading, then great.
Well, the one on the card says, "Entrances to holiness are everywhere." Do you want me to read that?
It's fine if you want to. Yeah, I just didn't know whether the reading was over or not.
There's a big space.
Yeah, okay,
the possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence.
Thank you. All right, we're going to turn to page 146 now. Please rise with me if you're able and comfortable doing so for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Folks, please have a seat. And we'll continue. We're on 149 now. Can I get someone else to volunteer to read for us here on 149? Sandy.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamari Baravim. All right, thank you. Going to continue on 150. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot, chokim u'mishpatim, otanu limadata, al ken Adonai Eloheinu בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו Yisrael. All right, folks, we're turning to 152 now, and we will rise for the opening of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Right, let's have a seat. We're continuing on 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Right, let's read together on page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say to Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi chamocha b'helim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot hosef ha'ele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze li'anu ve'amru, Adonai imloch leolam vaed, v'nemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugealom yad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. Okay, going to turn to 161 now. Can I get another volunteer to read in English? I think someone, Phyllis.
Okay. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 162. Yismechu v'malchutcha shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg hamekadeshei shvi kulam yisbehu ve'yitangu mituvecha Yismechu v'malchutcha shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg hamekadeshei shvi kulam yisbehu ve'yitangu mituvecha. All right, folks, we're going to turn now to page 164 for the Amidah, and I'll invite you to rise again with me if you're able and comfortable doing so. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol V'zocher chastei avot ve'imahot Umevi geula livnei v'neihem leman shemo b'yahava Melech ozer umoshia umagen Baruch atah Adonai magen Avraham b'ezrat Sarah Ata gibor leolam Adonai mechaye metim ata Rav lehoshia Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem Mechalkel chayim bechesed Mechaye metim berachamim rabim Somech noflim verofei cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato lishenei afar Micha mocha bal gevurot Umido melach Melech memit umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'neman ata l'chayot metim Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. All right, folks, feel free to sit down if you like. And we'll continue on 171. We'll read together. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illuminates the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Page 174. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael, utfilatam mehavat tekabel, utehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov l'chol korav, pnei levadecha v'chonenu, shefok ruchacha aleinu. ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים, ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון. All right, folks, so the Hoda'ah blessing of the Amidah is on page 176. We're going to read together in English, and then if you'd like to share something that you're feeling grateful about this week, then you can unmute yourself and share it with us. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words. For the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us, for all these and more we offer thanks. Okay, Sandy and Dennis.
Yes, Sandy and I want to say that we are very grateful for the good news that we have received, that Brett's latest PET scan, Lee's PET scan showed no signs of his cancer. There are possible microscopic cells that have to be investigated. They have to check and see if there are any, but not a single location that appeared on the original PET scan showed up. It was completely negative. The doctor said if she had not seen the original before seeing this scan, she would not have believed it possible. So it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Very pleased to hear that. Thank you, Dennis.
Probably have to continue some chemo, but we have to wait and find out any more about that.
Sure. Phyllis?
I know I talk a lot about our chow pantry, but I'm very grateful that we have a chow pantry, especially last night because we had two families that came in who've been impacted by members of their family being taken away by ICE in Endicott, New York. So if no one's aware, ICE is here in this area and people are being taken away. And one of the members of the family was taken to to Batavia, and they're now down in Texas. So ICE is here, and we're going to probably do some sessions at the temple on knowing your rights and what to do if you see ICE. So I'm grateful that we had a place for people to come for food who were afraid to leave their homes.
And thankful as well for so many people in this area and around the country who are standing up to these abuses of power and speaking out against what's been happening here in this country.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Anybody else have something they'd like to share? I can't see everybody all at once in this interface, so feel free to unmute yourself and just speak. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai atov shimcha ulcha na'eh lehodot. Going to turn to page 179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. All right, going to take a moment now for our own personal prayers and reflections. Ose shalom bimromav yase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav yase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imeru amen. Right, folks, we're going to turn forward now to page 371 for our prayer for healing. This week, give me a second here. Need to find our list. Here we go. So this week we are praying for Raphael Alietti, Kathleen Al-Jalad, David Ben Esther, Terry Bennett, Charles Berman, Thomas Brophy, Tom Brown, Louis Calcetera, Tegan Christofferson, Monica Dixon Damon, Betty Doer, Llewellyn Egan, Lee Foreman, Sandry Foreman, Lauren Furman, Robin Haas, Rosemarie Hazen, Sheila Hickok, Tom Kaloa, Holly Levine, Helen Lewis, Lori Marcello, Mike Martinez, Jim Mason, Leah Mead, John Muller, Rowan Nocholino, Jeremy Orden, Manny Orden, Robin Orden, Grayson Porter, Evelyn Rybel, Ken Roberts, Jim Rosenstein, Sherry Schwartz, Shmuel Emmett, Ruvain Mibet Avraham Vasara, Jennifer Stile, Rabbi Lance Sussman, Liz Sussman, Timothy Swindell, Rhonda Waxman, Elena Witter, Phyllis Young, Eugenio Zaroli, and Jaeger Zopp. And if you'd like to mention somebody else's name, then please unmute yourself and do so at this time. Neeson.
Marcia Lux.
Thank you.
Jody Force and Tony Lilly.
Thank you.
Brother, I don't know if it's right, but I would like to praise God for the fact that I am finally finding some healing and medicine that is helping me with my pain.
I'm so happy to hear that, Sharon. Thank you. Okay.
An induction pan go in the oven?
Mi shebeirach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Praying for a refuah shalema, a complete and speedy recovery to all those whom we're holding in our hearts this evening. All right, folks. So, I have a couple of words of Torah to share with you this evening we can talk about. So this is the parsha in which occur the second half, as sort of the second half of the plagues inflicted against the Egyptians, which means that this is the parsha which includes the plague of Makat Bechorot, the striking down of the firstborn of Egypt. Concerning this, Moses makes an announcement in chapter 4. Vayomer Moshe, Ko Amar Adonai, Kechatzot halayla, ani yotze betoch Mitzrayim. Moses said, Thus says Adonai, around midnight I will go out among the Egyptians. So in the Talmud, in Masechet Barachot, the sages raise a question about the wording of this verse. Why does it say kechatzot, around or like midnight? Could it be that God doesn't know precisely when it will be time for the plague of the firstborn to occur? Of course not. So, what's going on here? Initially, the sages raised the possibility that Moses is the one who may be uncertain of the time. Perhaps he had to be approximate here because he didn't know exactly when the middle of the night would be. But there are problems with this idea. In Psalms, King David states, At midnight I arise to praise you for your righteous judgments. So then how can we say that King David knew when midnight was, but Moshe Rabbeinu, our great teacher Moses, didn't know? Rather, the sages conclude, both Moses and David must have known perfectly well when midnight was. And when Moses said kechatzot, around midnight, he's being approximate for a reason. He's being approximate in case Pharaoh's astrologers might have miscalculated the time, and consequently that people might wrongly conclude that Moses had not been speaking the truth with regard to when the plague would strike. From this, the sages derive the following very useful principle. Teach your tongue to say, I don't know, lest you be made a liar and caught out. So there's a value implicit in this teaching. And the value is that credibility is an incredibly important concern, and that we ought to be more concerned about our credibility and the accuracy of the statements that we're making, and about whether people can trust us and rely on us to speak the truth and only the truth as we know it. We ought to care more about those things than about appearing to know something, than about the appearance of looking as if we had knowledge that we didn't have. In other words, this is about the virtue of intellectual modesty. This capacity for intellectual modesty is often difficult to find in the world that we're living in. A world in which confidence often seems to carry more weight than accuracy and certainty. When scientists and other experts are cautious with their language and acknowledge openly that there are some things that they don't know yet or don't know for certain, they're upholding a standard of proof which is part of what makes the advancement of their discipline and the advancement of human knowledge possible. And yet, for those without much understanding, that care and concern for accuracy can appear in an unfavorable light when it appears in contrast to the confident claims of people who don't hold themselves up to that same standard of truth. And the consequent devaluing of training and expertise let alone the devaluing of the fundamental concept of truth as such, has had a tremendously negative impact, I think, on our collective lives. Whether we're talking about the use of large language model-based generative AI to produce material that looks kind of like knowledge, but actually is anything but, or the co-opting of social media networks by bad actors looking to manipulate public opinion, or the rise of leaders who seem to derive their power and influence over people from a willingness to completely disregard what's true and what's false. The world we live in has no shortage of ways to undermine our ability to determine what's true and what's false. In such a world, the sage's lesson of intellectual modesty and restraint of speech might appear quaint and not with the times. But on the other hand, it might seem to us to be perhaps a lesson that's more important than ever. And so the question for us to consider tonight and maybe discuss a little bit is, what do you think of this idea of withholding our speech, this idea of being careful and not and being careful to guard one's tongue lest one inadvertently speaks something that isn't a lie, that isn't true, and get caught out, right? What do we make of this virtue in the context of our own lives, in the context of the world and the society in which we live? How do we, how much importance do you place on accuracy, and how much importance do you place on the need to appear to know something, the need to be heard and listened to? Opening it up for people's thoughts and comments as they occur to you.
Raise my hand.
Yeah, hello?
Yes. Oh, Phyllis, go ahead.
No, you can go. You go.
You're probably more profound than I am.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal standpoint, I try to be honest at all times. I like all my watches and clocks to be very precise, that I periodically check the GPS stuff and time.gov. So for those things, I really want accuracy. Conversely, once in a while, I guess you've got to be somewhat untruthful when it maybe will hurt somebody and the issue is somewhat trivial.
Mm.
You don't have to tell the absolute truth, like, your baby is ugly, or not all brides are beautiful, whatever those kind of things are. So you got to carefully weigh it so as you're not hurting anybody and certainly not affecting a whole large population.
Sure, there's absolutely a time and a place. Thank you. Phyllis.
I agree with what Neeson's saying. The comment I want to make, I think we have to be comfortable saying, I don't know sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't feel inferior if we don't know something. And I think sometimes that's why people will make things up, because they want everyone to think that they're in control and they know things.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think it can be embarrassing when we feel like we ought to know, or when people are treating us as if we ought to know, and we don't, right? And most of us would do just about anything to avoid being embarrassed like that, right? It's hard to be openly say, right, I don't know, because it's like admitting that we've got a deficit, right? And nobody wants that. Yeah, absolutely.
But on the flip side, if someone says to you, I don't know, you should be able to understand that they don't know, and try to explain to them, what the information is that they don't know.
Exactly. I think that there's a virtue to accepting I don't know as an answer, right?
Yeah.
When it's the honest answer. Yeah, totally. Suzanne.
A couple of comments. When somebody says, I don't know, either help them to understand it or let's go look it up and figure it out. Let's find the information. But when I was teaching, I would say to my students, a very acceptable question in my class is help. And they'd look at me and they'd say, well, if you're so lost, you don't even know how to verbalize a question, then help is the question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that people are afraid to say. They're afraid to say, even more than I don't know, I don't even know how to ask.
Mhm.
Well, ask for help. And I think that's a very important thing that we have to learn how to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that also something that like teachers and, people in positions of authority like that have to wrestle with quite a bit is how to negotiate the situation, like how to negotiate those situations when we don't even know the answer.
Yeah.
Phyllis again.
Yeah, Suzanne made me think of something. I remember in college, I had a professor, it was a math class, who said, don't be afraid to ask questions because there's no question that's so dumb, so that these four walls and these two ears haven't heard it. So, so he said that, and he said, don't be afraid to ask. So.
Mhm.
I'm going to jump, but that's really where I learned that was from a math class in grad school, because I literally sat there looking at a question on a test, my girlfriend and I next to each other, crying because we literally had no idea what the question meant, what we're supposed to do with it. We were sitting there absolutely lost. So he came over and said, well, I said, can you explain what you're asking us to do here? Because I can't figure it out.
Well, sometimes there are dumb questions, but do you state that to the person or to the issue? Probably not.
It's another one of those.
Getting back to where you started, Rabbi, about Moses and the plagues at approximately midnight.
Mhm.
Is it possible that he was hoping that the Pharaoh would change his mind and was giving him a little extra recovery time to make that decision?
Maybe there was some built-in wiggle room there, like some room for compassion. I like that idea. Katie.
Hey, so just a thought about, people saying, well, I don't know, and then, going to find the answer. I think there's something to just not knowing. And I think if you are so quick to answer something that you'll lose, like, so I do research or did. And when people think they know the answer or they simplify the answer, you rob yourself of learning something new or knowing what questions you should be asking.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't. I respect people who say I don't know all the time. And one researcher I respected a great deal was he would always say we don't know yet. So I think about that a lot, and I don't know. I feel like the smartest people are the ones who are the quickest to say they don't know.
Absolutely. Well, and I think also the smartest people or the most knowledgeable people are the people for whom the state of knowledge tends to be the most in flux, right? People who know a little bit or, don't really know very much, right, are often in a state of assuming that the truth is always the same and never changes. But people who are more immersed in a subject, right, or more immersed in, who understand on a deeper level, like what knowledge actually means, are aware that the state of our knowledge is constantly in flux, and the things that we assumed were correct 10 years ago are not necessarily right. Like we know more now, and we have a more complex or more detailed model than what we used to about a subject, right? So the irony is that we sometimes think of truth as unchanging, but actually our understanding of the truth tends to change the more that we know, and accepting that is an important thing.
And also the things that we're basing our knowledge on. I imagine if we could all live, 300 years, we'd look back to now and laugh at all the foolish things that we believe to be true.
Yeah, for sure. Alan.
Just a different thought. Back then, with midnight, or they did have clocks or watches or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I assume this would be halfway between when the sun set and when the sun rose up.
Precisely.
It
Yeah.
wasn't a particular, 12 midnight.
Yeah, their understanding of hours in ancient times was very different from ours, right? Which is that an hour was a precise subdivision of the period of time of day versus night, right? So, in other words, an hour in the summer at night was much shorter than an hour at night in the winter because the nights are longer in the winter than they are in the summer, right? So it's a very different kind of, like, we think of as like an hour as an hour, it's a fixed unit of time, but that wasn't the case in ancient times because it was an hour was defined as 1/12 of the period between, sunset and sunrise.
Okay, so let's say if you're King David, you would have your astronomers and astrologers that would track the stars going, through the night and so forth and so on, and the time of the season it was, and perhaps could more accurately say, this is the middle of the night.
Mhm.
Where if you're out in the desert, you know that you don't have this technology and you kind of approximate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rabbis at least assume that in Moses' case, he probably must have known because of prophecy. But interestingly, in David's case, they give an explanation for how they think that David must have known it was midnight, and it's a fascinating explanation. They say he used to have like a lyre, like a musical instrument that he had hanging above his bed, and that at midnight, that's when the wind would come and it would like cause the strings to vibrate, and that's what would wake him up. So it was a kind of primitive alarm clock, they said.
Okay.
Now, I can't speak for the meteorological accuracy of the wind conditions in Eretz Yisrael at midnight, but I thought it's a fascinating little mechanism that they imagine at any rate.
Okay.
Brian.
Bear with me a little bit because this might be a little bit all over the place.
Bearing with you.
I've been diagnosed as autistic.
Mhm.
So, and I am on the spectrum. So knowledge for me, sometimes if it's something I'm interested in, I latch onto it. I know way too much about it probably. I can't help it, I just fixate. And on the other hand, if there's something that I'm not so much interested in, I just don't, it doesn't even register with me sometimes. Now, if there's a case where it's like, I don't know, like, ooh, and I'll look it up if that's as possible, because I like to know things. I don't need to be right. I just like to know things.
Mhm.
And you said something earlier, Rabbi, about our modern world. Some of our leaders just talk and they say things that are just blatantly untrue. Everyone knows it's wrong and it's untrue. And that really sticks in my, crawl. I just can't. That really just bothers me. And then to see the people lining up to say, oh yeah, sure, that's exactly what it is. Just no, that is not what it is. How it's not that? Why? There's an emotional element or aspect of that I just don't grasp, apparently.
Yeah,
that really rubs me the wrong way.
it can be tremendously frustrating when people are, accepting something that we know and we suspect that even they know to be untrue, right? That's an intensely frustrating experience. Dennis, did you have a hand up, I think?
Yeah, I did, and then our system went down, and I had to restart and everything. So
Well, glad you're back. What did you have to say?
Disappeared for a moment. There, something that you said a couple minutes ago before my system died. There's a fine line between saying truth changes and I was wrong before.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be sure that we qualify it, because the people that we're talking to may be of that mental set that says, oh, well, you were wrong before, then why aren't you wrong now?
Right.
Like you see on the TV cop shows with the witness on the stand. Well, you lied. You say you lied before, but now you're telling the truth. How do we know you're not lying now? It makes me think of the anti-vaxxers who say, well, gee, you thought the vaccine was good, but now it's not good. Well, no, I didn't say it's not good. I said that there's a new strain. Oh, well, you were wrong before. How do we know you're not wrong now? And we have to be very careful of that fine line when we're talking to people that we don't know well, who are listening to what they want to hear and not to what's actually being said. So we've got to be careful that we don't fall into that trap of inadvertently leading ourselves into a trap.
That's very true. And I think that that's part of what the rabbis are getting at with that teaching that they give about, teaching yourself, right, to be cautious about what you say so that you don't get made a liar, right? In other words, that you don't get caught up in a situation where people misunderstand you and end up assuming, and then you end up losing credibility as a result. It's not a good thing. Suzanne.
I think I would change the statement from, it's not that truth changes, facts change. Knowledge changes. As we learn one thing, we can move forward. And I know some of you have heard me say this before. My grandfather was born in 1885, and he used to say to me, look, I was born before there was a car, before there was a plane, especially before there was a jet. He said, I lived to see a man walk on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned from science that we've developed our knowledge. Nothing is impossible if we can research it and find it out. So, there's a difference between truth, untruths, and facts and alternate facts.
Exactly. I mean, we tend to speak in an inexact way, right? And talk in a way that conflates truth from our understanding of the truth, right? And that is inexact, right? If we were being totally accurate, we might even say that none of us ever knows the truth, because truth is something that we're always striving toward, but we never actually touch on, right? We've only got our best understanding of the truth at this moment, and that's what we call truth.
Yeah.
But if we were being really brutally honest about it, right, we couldn't really say that we know the truth, because truth is much more complex than any of us are able to grasp in the moment. And I think that that's the tricky thing about truth.
Yeah. The statement, there are three sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth.
Sure. Dennis.
Going to what you just said and to what I said earlier, there are some things that are always true. 1 and 1 makes 2.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change the facts. Like Suzanne said, our knowledge of the facts, the facts may change. Some facts don't change. Electrons go around a nucleus. The proton is in the nucleus. That isn't, hasn't, or ever will change. That is a fact, and it can't change. Even when we play with atomic reactors and atom smashing, that fact doesn't change. We can knock an electron off an atom, but it doesn't change the fact of where that electron came from. Some things are always true.
Dennis, the facts build on each other so that we can develop more knowledge. That's really what I meant by that. It's not that the facts
but I'm
change,
saying
but
you're right. You're right. That I'm not contradicting what you were saying.
No, but I'm saying
that's
that's really what I meant.
Yeah, no, we have to be careful that we don't say that in general truth changes. We have to be careful because the wrong people might be listening.
All right. Thanks everyone for your comments. I think this has been a really interesting discussion, and that's the truth. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here because I want to finish up with services here. So let's share the screen once again. And we're going to turn to page 587. I'll invite you to rise with us if you're able and comfortable doing so. For Aleinu. Aleinu lishabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shahu sam chelkeinu liached et shemo, vegor aleinu lahamlich malchuto. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Feel free to have a seat if you like, as we continue on 591. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Okay, Mourner's Kaddish is on 598. And this evening, this week, we are remembering the yahrzeits of Harry M. Putzel, Sadia Schachter, Richard Hammer, Ruth Brill, Rose Bronsky, Samuel Levine, Michael Marcus, Seymour Weinstein, Sylvia Wolkoff, Michael Zapataki, Romaine Eisenstadt, Francis Wallach, Bertha Friedman Katzen, Bella M. Kaufman, Geraldine Crone, Laura Engel, Leo Paul Katzen, and Marlene Tashma. And if there's anyone who's remembering somebody whose name I haven't mentioned, then feel free to unmute yourself and mention their name at this time. All right. Please rise if you're able and comfortable doing so for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, Be'alma divra chirote v'yamlik malchute, B'chaye chon uvyome chon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei rabba mevarach le'alam ulolmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudsha b'richu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May their memories be for a blessing. All right, folks, have a seat. Don't have a whole lot of announcements other than to remind you that because of the winter weather this weekend, that all of our activities have changed. So tomorrow morning we're going to be doing Torah study together on Zoom, just like we did services tonight on Zoom. And then also the book event that was scheduled for Sunday, that has been not so much canceled as rescheduled. It's going to be happening on a different Sunday down the road. So keep an eye out for the emails where everything is explained. I'm also going to throw in a plug here. We've got the Tu B'Shvat Seder coming up very soon. I believe actually it's next Sunday, the Sunday after this Sunday. So we are encouraging folks to RSVP for that. Make it out if you can possibly make it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're doing dinner as part of the event this year, which is going to be pizza and salad that's been provided by the Temple Concord Sisterhood. Also happening on that same day is a Brotherhood event, which is concerning genealogy. It looks like a really interesting event. That's happening in the morning. So heck, you can probably make it to both of those if you wanna do both. For other stuff, as usual, we've got quite a few things coming down the pipe. So keep an eye on our emails for all the info about that, as well as about stuff that's been rescheduled because of the weather. But great to see you all here tonight, and looking forward to seeing you here for some more stuff coming down the road. We're going to finish up on page 625 with Adon Olam, and then I will bid you all Shabbat Shalom, and it'll be a real short journey back home from services tonight. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa v'cheftzo kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hove ve'hu yeh בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי ביצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בית אישן ויהירה ואם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא ידע. All right, folks, Shabbat Shalom, and thanks for being with us here this evening.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom. Good to see
Shabbat
you.
shalom.
Everybody,
Shabbat Shalom.
we are unmuted.
Stay
Shabbat
warm,
Shalom,
everybody.
everyone.
Neeson, how is Marcia?
Marsha is good. I mean, she's gonna, on Monday.